Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. Here is an update to the Warcraft 3 patch that is hitting. This is the first news that we have received in the last 7 or 8 months or so in the Warcraft 3 ecosystem from Blizzard. Of course, there have been great updates from W3 champions, booster and tournament organizers, but from Blizzard it has been a lot of radio silence. And of course, you probably know that if you follow this channel. A new patch was announced a week ago towards the second half of March with some balance changes. And of course, we have the video of that where I went through those changes on my YouTube over here that you guys have looked at already before. And I also gave it a rating, and I believe I gave it a rating of, what was it, maybe like a 6.5 or something? A 7? Did my editor put the note on it? Ctrl F patch. No, we didn't actually rate it. I was not 100% positive. I feel like the changes to Undead were pretty good. There were a bunch of nerfs, but human were getting 6 buffs to fast expansion style, and I thought that maybe was not a good idea. If human needs to be buffed, and I think they might need to be, I would like to see it in a different area. What I didn't talk about as much was my disappointment that Mountain Giants weren't nerfed or changed. I personally believe that Mountain Giants are too strong at tier 3, but too weak at tier 2 without their special upgrades. Resistant skin and in particular hardened skin are both pretty big deals when it comes to making Mountain Giants virtually unkillable. A Mountain Giant is much harder to kill than a hero, and the taunt is a really annoying mechanic. So there is a new update today on the 29th of March. Let's look at it together. The patch just dropped. Let's see what they changed. Again, this is a patch that's coming out in April, mid-April they thought, and they have now updated it. This is about 2 weeks after we had the previous PTR notes. These changes are playable on the PTR, the patch test region. They're playable there, which you can access via your Battle.net launcher. If you go to your Battle.net launcher, you can click here. No. You can click here. Nope. You can click here. Yes. And then go to the public test realm, which is exactly what I just called it, that acronym. There we go. Perfect. So here are the patch notes. Without further ado, let's go check it out. Community Manager Kaivax. Loktar. The development team would like to thank the community for all your testing and feedback over the last 2 weeks. We have decided to update the PTR with changes that address much of your feedback. We have also changed the format of these patch notes to help track what is being updated, added, and reverted. We want this patch to focus primarily on the human versus undead matchup, as these changes do affect other matches. However, considering recent Premier tournaments and feedback, we have decided to add some additional changes to the other races. Please continue to test and give feedback on our latest changes. And we'll definitely do that here on this channel as well. The Warcraft 3 team. Undead. Acolyte hit point regeneration while on Blight reduced. So this is a change that is neither updated or added in bold nor reverted. So everything that's in normal text, plain font, is exactly what the previous PTR patch also said. So we're going to skip by those. Crippler's impale damage reduced from 75, 120, 165 to 60, 105, 150. So minus 15, minus 15, minus 15. I seem to remember this was 110. So it was minus 15, minus 10, minus 15. And my theory for that was maybe they want round numbers, no 5s. But it was definitely inconsistent. Like there was like a scientific discovery that level 2 is not too strong, but the others are. So this one only needs minus 10. But it looks like it was indeed a clerical error. And we're going to have the full minus 15. So the consistent 15 damage per level drop. Frost armor on hit duration now scales 357. Instead of 246. And the original was 444, I believe. Maybe this is good. Let's talk a little bit about a little bit. Don't worry, this is not going to be one of those 500-word monologues. Let's talk about what Frost Armor gets used as in the pro play. People go Nova first, Nova third, and Nova fifth. So they only have 2 free slots for skills. And they go 1 Dark Ritual and 1 Frost Armor. Not in that order. So they never go Frost Armor 2 because the duration doesn't scale. So it's always in this order. Armor, Nova Nova, Ritual Nova. Or Nova, Armor, Nova, Ritual Nova. One of those orders. And it's never another Frost Armor because that would cost them either the ability to regenerate mana via Dark Ritual or it costs them damage on the splash damage of Nova. So what they're saying is level 1 will be weaker by 1 second, which I like it. It's a small change. Frost Armor 1 is OP, but supposedly Undead needs it for the for protecting their fiends before they reach tier 3 and stuff, and a high level DK. So I think this is a good baby step. I don't want there to be too huge changes since overall the game is working quite well, and I'm always afraid that they're gonna make a rapid big change somewhere and then not come back and revisit that ever, therefore breaking the game. But I do think this is a good change. It does mean that Frost Armor level 2 and 3 are better than before, keeping in mind for a second that Frostworm used to slow for 10 seconds on heroes, and that was nerfed a couple of years ago. 10 seconds on heroes, nice. So this 7 is still not the most imbalanced slow that there has ever been in Warcraft 3. And it does require 3 points of investment. And it doesn't affect ranged, which late game for a Lich level 9, which is the earliest you'll ever see Frost Armor level 3, according to my predictions. A Lich level 9 is allowed to slow for that much with Frost Armor. So I think this is both a nerf to the meta and a buff to investing additional points. Before there was almost no reason to ever get bonus points on Frost Armor, even though it gives 3, 5, and 7 armor. It wasn't good enough. So I think this is a good change. Kudos. And this is a nice streamlining change. Moving on. They're still buffing human in these 5 ways, which helps them to fast expand and rush to tier 3. But they're no longer dropping Siege Engine experience bounty. I'm glad that one of these at least was reverted. And they are reducing Thunderclap AoE range. Interesting. I do think that is justified because it is uncapped slow damage and attack speed slow, and I do think we needed this a long time ago. But the weird thing is that when you make Thunderclap weaker, you make 1 base human weaker. Of course, you're also making 2 base and 5 base human weaker if they're using Thunderclap, but mostly you're making 1 base human weaker, and you're making all this better. It seems like Neo Blizzard is really wanting human to be the fast expansion race. I always think fast expansion games are the least interesting when not both players are allowed to fast expand. For example, human versus undead. Actually, they can do a Crypt Lord expansion these days. Maybe human orc, but human orc they don't really fast expand either. Maybe that's just what human is. They fast expand, you fast expand. They're pushing them more in that direction. And maybe the desire to make it viable for humans to 1 base is a forlorn desire. Maybe it is not valid. They're pushing them to... And of course, this can help for 1 basing as well. This can help for 1 basing. This helps for 1 basing. But you don't tower a lot from 1 base usually. So it still feels like fast expansion changes, but it's not the hugest of changes, and it also affects 1 base. So Sundering Blades makes 15% bonus damage to medium armor from knights. I'm a little foggier here on the potential ramifications. I don't think it's a huge deal. Most of this. This one maybe is the one that I think is the problem. This is kind of okay. This is actually 33% faster repair rates, which I think is a mistake. Yeah, If I had to veto 2 of these changes away, I'd say this and this. This actually seems fine because you're still making the same gold investment to get bonus lumber mining. You can just do it earlier. And I think that's probably good. Is fine. And this is a nice quality of life change and a buff. But I don't see why Sundering Blades would suddenly be embedded. They're trying to make knights better against fiends, but it is going to affect... will it actually affect anything else? It will make human a bit better against MGs. That's not the worst either. Yeah, maybe this is fine too. This is the most problematic potentially. Because Tower Rush will be better. I don't think we need to go back to humans tower rushing elf and orc every game. Yeah, I think these 4 are actually fine. I've had a lot of time to think about it since last patch notes. But this one I don't agree with. Moving on. Night Elf only had 1 change before, which was a mana buff to Druids of the Claw. As we actually found out in testing, a Druid of the Claw with 0 upgrades comes out with enough mana to roar. The change, he will still come out with enough mana to roar. An Adept Druid of the Claw upgrade has a percentual increase of his starting mana. Roar costs 100, so it makes no change. Rejuvenation costs 125, but Rejuvenation requires an upgrade, Adept upgrade. And he will also have enough to rejuvenate, so it doesn't make a change there either. And Master Claw doesn't cost much at all to morph, so this doesn't actually do anything. Just gives them a bit more mana in general, which it's certainly an old change that I don't think anyone asked for. Not much more to say about that. The second taunt removed, oh that's great. And that's all they're doing to it. So before MGs, years ago, they were given a second taunt. They were made 70 gold cheaper, I believe, from 420 to 350. And they were made 6 food instead of 7. Did they revert one of those by then? Yeah, they're 7 food once again. But they still have the second taunt, and they still have the gold nerf, like the gold cheaper. This is great. Second taunt gone. Perfect. Maybe that's all they need. I still wish that they would actually make a change and say hardened skin, 12 damage reduction is a bit too crazy. Nerf that, but make mountain giants better at tier 2. Maybe give them more damage or something. But yeah, they're not going into that. Not sure. They're probably not sure how to do it. Mana flare damage for fairy dragons has been increased. Damage per mana. So they're going to blow up casters even more. This is actually going to be a big buff to Night Elf Talon, Druid of the Talon strategy against Orc, which I think it's fine. Orc has new ways to deal with Talons. They can still play Blade TC, or they can play Blade Shadow Fast Expand, or they can Tower Rush with Shadow 3. I think Orc has more tools to deal with Talons than before, and at the end of the day, it was one of the more interesting metas, even though it felt very difficult, like quite a struggle for Orc. Many great games, legendary games, tournaments were played with Talons. And maybe it's even more interesting than 70 food Huntress Archer spamming with Keeper. So if we're going to see more Fairy Dragon Talon against Orc, maybe that's a good thing. You can still blow up Fairy Dragons with Bat Riders before they go into the armor mode. And you can use Troll Berserkers weaved into your army to try and shoot them down. And don't cast spells while they go in Mana Flare mode. Mana Flare max damage has also been increased, and Fairy Dragon base attack damage has been reduced by 1. So this is a change that would target mostly Night Elf ability to play against Undead with Keeper Moss Fairy Dragons, which Happy, I believe, doesn't lose to anymore, but many other Undeads still can. And I guess they wanted to really focus on their niche and allow Fairy Dragons to be the anti-caster, and not the damager. And if you want to damage, they want to push you to Hippo Riders. And there's a bit of a design overlap, right? If Fairy Dragons are valid to be made just for their attack damage. So I didn't think about this change, but I think it's a good change. I think this makes Fairy Dragons just a bit more unique compared to Hippo Riders. Now, gonna hold my heart and look at the Orc changes. Scroll speed cost increased from 50 to 70. There's been a lot of campaigning for the speed scroll to be nerfed. The arguments always go from both sides like this. Orc says, but we need it. If we had no speed scroll, we did. Against sorceresses, thunderclap, stormbolt, entangle, cyclone, dryad slow, and so on and so forth. Against unholy aura, nova, and frost armor. And this is all true. And the other races say speed scroll is too cheap. It gives 10 seconds of maximum movement speed to the whole army for 10 seconds for just 50 gold. And orcs are spamming it. And that's true as well. And when you look at the win rates of the races in general, Orc did just win a big tournament with Lyn dominating. And he was against another Orc in the final. So Orc is in quite a good spot, most likely, with 2 Orcs in the finals. And this is a backbone tool for Orc. So in an average game, I think Orc buys at least 3, at least, and an average probably of 5 or 8. So that is going to be an extra 100 gold missing or more in the course of a game. And that doesn't sound like a lot. 100 gold, 120 gold missing. 120 gold doesn't sound like a lot. But this upgrade is also giving 100 gold to human. This is a late 100 gold and 100 lumber. And this one, I guess the biggest deal is that this is at tier 1. Losing 20 gold at tier 1 is maybe even a bigger deal than all the other speed scrolls that you're going to be getting. So I think it's a little heavy-handed. It feels justified because it is so broken by itself, speed scroll. But because Orc has been roughly balanced over the many years, and you're addressing something so fundamental, I wonder if they're going to walk this back again, just like they walked back Rod of Necromancy delay. I don't see it anymore, Rod of Necromancy delay. Did they remove it? Didn't they bring it back from 26 to 24 seconds? And it used to be 22, the cooldown. I think maybe 60 gold would be a good one. 70 feels heavy-handed, but we're going to test it and we'll see. They did, right? They forgot? Yeah. Anyway. And then Serpent Ward experience bounty increased from 12.5 XP for a level 1 Serpent Ward. 20. What? What? 12.5, 20, 30 to 12.5. Boom! 42.5. 57.5. Hey, why not 100, 200? Just make them give XP of a hero. Okay, this is not heavy-handed. This is a very light touch. Let's just increase the XP gain by 120%. My god. I actually think it is not crazy to upgrade the XP gained from Serpent Wards, especially the level 2 and 3. Level 1 Serpent Ward is fairly weak, so I'm glad they didn't touch that. I feel like 20 to 24, 20 to 26 would be more reasonable. 30 to 40, not 57.5. A Serpent Ward costs 30 mana. A 30 mana that gives 60 XP almost. A water elemental gives 42, 60, 85 maybe? 42, 60, 85. But costs 125 mana. Which, and obviously it does a lot. It moves, it has a lot of health, good damage. 125 mana. This one is 30 mana. And you can have 6 Serpent Wards at the same time. Only 2 water elementals. Almost 3. And a water elemental gives 85. This gives 57. Even though water elemental is more than 4 times the mana cost. It feels a bit strange. I feel like they missed some numbers. The idea is good. But the numbers is way too much. Neutral. Pandaran's Brewmaster's strength and intelligence increased by 1. Big disagree. I think strength and agility should be increased. I think it's very risky to increase his intelligence because he's a very good spellcaster. This is mostly an elf buff, but secondly also for human, and thirdly for orc, and fourth for undead. All 4 races have used panda in the past, mostly to punish a fast expansion, but only night elf and human have used it as a fundamentally incorporated hero, and mostly elf. So this is an elf buff. I find it uninteresting to buff the int. He is a strength hero that has a passive that stimulates auto attacks, which is generally related to agility, and he's a spellcaster mostly. So he kind of is a bit of all 3. So you could buff any stat to make him better. And to make him a better spellcaster, I find it boring. There's no crits and evasion that anyone can get except Demon Hunter and Blade. The panda you can get it via the tavern, of course. And if you buff strength and intelligence, like if he decided to need a buff, which I find very doubtful actually. He's better than Firelord, for instance. If he needs a buff, then you could do agility. Then he attacks faster, making his crit procs more relevant. But you're still going to take Pitlord over him when it comes to auto attacks. We can just forget about Drunken Brawler. Like, only Orc uses that because they don't have enough mana. But Elf and Human are always going to go double spells. Making him more nuke resistant and more spells, I don't know, it's risky. Maybe try one stat, just strength or just agility. Breath of Fire max damage has been increased by a little more than 10%. About a little more than 10%. So, Night Elf buff against Garrix then. Illyria's Flutes of Accuracy bonus has been reduced from... Wait, oh yeah, this is all unchanged. This is all unchanged. All items resell for 65%, no longer 75%, which would have made a TP give you 262 as an instant sale. I think a lot of people liked the idea. Blizzard is coming up with some pretty decent changes, mostly rooted in community feedback, which is nice. But the numbers sometimes are a little off. I don't think they consult us directly on it. They rely on feedback videos like this. I mean, they haven't messaged me in a long time. So that's all fine. I think it's good to try to be confident. And they're doing a lot of testing via PTR and via these repeated notes. A lot of people thought this is a good idea, but that 75 was too much. And 65, I think it's a lot closer to what would be good. Maybe 60 or 65 would be nice. We're going to test that out. Can you please tell them that 60% resale value is much better than 65? Especially even number-wise, it's easier to compute. Yeah, I guess... have you done some numbers, Save Orcas? Orcas is a maths professor, so... well, there you go. It has been told. Maybe 60% is good. Well, I would have to do some numbers. Scroll of Town Portal cost has been reduced. Oh! So that also means it sells for less. And you can buy them more often. You know, this is also a nerf to Orc. Two times nerf. Because we use Speed Scroll more than TP. And we sell TP. So it's going to sell for less. So a little bit of quick maths is we used to sell a TP for half its cost, for 175 gold. We were maybe going to sell it for 3/4 of its cost, which would have given us 87 gold extra. With the new change, we would have been selling it for 65% of the cost, 228. It's rounded up apparently. But now we're going to sell it for the new value of 325 with 65%, which will still be more, of course, than the original cost on current live servers, 211, which is 36 gold more, which actually sponsors you your first speed scroll, but not your second speed scroll, nerfed gold cost. So I think we've reached a pretty delicate point. Oh, and just to test, if we do 60% like Save Orcas requested, it only sponsors one speed scroll. Though it is a cleaner number, like Save Orcas said. So you either get 1 or you get 1 and 4/5 of a speed scroll sponsored with that TP sale. So specifically when it comes to Orc, this leaves us in an okay place for our first 2 speed scrolls. And after that, each one costs more. And I think that's kind of okay. The first one is on your main hero, your blade. The second one is on your shadow. And those are given for the same price, basically. And everything afterwards costs more. But you can buy TPs for cheaper if you want them. Which, it's pretty rare for Orc, but still. I still think it's a little heavy-handed, but not as heavy as this. Bug fixes? This. So, Chuddy actually showed, Chuddy aka Annoying Warcraft, that you can see where people spawn based on rally point fog of war behavior on gold mines. Blizzard fixed it, but then he showed in another video a week or 2 ago that you can still damn it, Chuddy! That you can still see where undead and night elf gold mines are. So this is not in bold, so I think it's back to the drawing board, and I hope that in another update we will in fact see that it's fixed again. Because it's not fixed. This is like fixing your rabbits and suddenly you have a nest of 8 new rabbits. Fix didn't work. You got effed. Okay, that's the patch notes. I'm really glad that the mountain giant is getting its second taunt removed. I think this is interesting and pretty on design. Little heavy, super heavy, scary buff, but not the scariest. I think this is good. I think this is fine. This is weird, but not a big problem. This is good. I think this is an issue for Tower Rush. This is fine. This is all fine and good. This is consistent, and this is fine and good. So overall, more positive about this one than the one from March 17th. Good job, guy, gal, or guys or gals at Blizzard. Looking forward to the next update. I think we should get one more update before it goes live. And I think this is a good few steps in the right direction. Thank you very much. All right. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this video for seeing the future videos. Peace.